everybody, we're live. It's the Horror Movie Night Live. We've been waiting to do something like this, and then Jonathan London, in all of his infinite wisdom and kindness, gave us the thumbs up to use their Facebook and YouTube to start doing all this streaming. So welcome to Horror Movie Night Live. But obviously, it's not just going to be me. It's the whole Horror Movie Night crew. So Brian and Scott are here. We're going to bring them on. There's Scott. Hey!
And I'm here too.
There's Brian. Brian's controlling the switchboard. He's controlling everything that you're seeing. And what we're going to do is, you're part of the show, guys. So leave some comments. Hit up the Facebook. Hit up all there. Yeah. See, it'll pop up on the screen.
Hey,
we can interact. We can interact with you guys. So throw us topics that you want to hear us talk about while we're doing this live stream. Anything that we don't get to will just be carried over into future ones. What does this?
I want to hear you say that word.
Brian is having way too much fun over here. But we've got Scott, we've got Brian, but we've also got guests. We've got two guests. So let's bring in our first guest, which is one of our favorite people, director of one of our favorite movies, WNUF Halloween Special Director Chris LaMartina! Hey! Did not know this was going to be live.
I just found out this was live and also video.
Drinking wine like a fucking fancy man. Are we allowed to swear?
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I want to hear you say.
So Chris got surprised. Not as
I was just doing my nails, drinking my wine.
He was stretched out like
Brian, this is exactly what Brian did at
we have the
Mania 2019.
We have the picture of him stretched out on a bed, drinking a What was it? A Red Bull and recording.
No, it was was it a bed? No, what was it?
It was some energy drink.
Yeah, but you were like,
yeah, it was a good energy drink.
like fucking loser.
Oh, it was a Starbucks double shot.
Thank you.
One of our faithful sponsors. Double shot.
So Chris was shocked to find out that he was live, but our next guest, Scott, was shocked to find out was attractive. Robert Bacon of the 91 Donkey Lane podcast.
Hey! For the record, he didn't say I was attractive. He said, "Oh, I thought you would look like an incel." So, at the very least, I don't look like an incel, but I still could be one. So we don't know.
I don't know. How much sex have you had because of 91 Donkey Lane? That's what I really want to know.
Negative 91.
I guess we know why it's called that.
All right. So we are going to talk about the most important thing that we could talk about. So the first episode of this show, we had to ring it in with celebrating infamous first appearances, because this will go down in history as a great horror first appearance, the Horror Movie Night Live.
Because we're so scary looking.
Yes, this is huge. But we're going to save that for the end. We want you guys to throw us topics that we want to talk about. But in the meantime, let's jump to Chris real quick, because Chris, obviously, the whole reason why everybody's doing these live streams and these podcasts is because, the world's gone to hell. But you are shooting a movie sequel as it was happening. So what's going on with the WNUF sequel?
This definitely wasn't a good thing. So we had oh boy, this is good. This is a good discussion. So we were set to shoot this really big crowd scene on Easter weekends. Which obviously didn't happen. So we had a large portion of WNUF is the sequel is very similar to the original, where there's commercial breaks. And for the last year prior to this, we were shooting all the fake commercials. And then a lot of the story content was going to be shot in March, and then also a little bit in September, October. So hopefully Corona's done by then, so we can shoot all the stuff that has to be in cornfield.
And have Halloween,
Yeah. And Halloween. That's actually the bigger priority. But we basically lost in March and April. We lost like 8 shoot days because of this. Jesus. So that's it's a pretty big bummer. But at the same time too, what's been cool about it is I have not been I've not been just hanging out. I've been doing a ton of stuff for the movie. So we've shot basically all the commercials except for 4 are all completely done. And the reason why those 4 can't be done is because they require human beings.
I've seen some of the ones that don't require human beings, and they're amazing.
So
yeah, because I was out in Akron, Cleveland, Akron area, back in November.
It was the end of November, yeah.
Yeah. That was my little Thanksgiving trip. I wanted to hang out with Scott.
Yeah. No, his wife Melissa was like out of the country, and so he had like a lonely man trip. And the things that he did was like we hung out and had brunch. He got a Freddie 2 stand up? What was it?
Dude, it was okay. So this is the whole reason was my friend Randy, who lives in this punk house out in Columbus.
Yeah.
I bought a Nightmare on Elm Street. I think it was part 5, Dream
Oh,
Child.
yeah, 5. Thank you.
From Stan D. I bought it from her like a year ago, and I was like, oh, I don't want you to mail that or it'll get all fucked up, so I'll drive out to Columbus to get it. And then it turned into like a Cleveland trip. I did do a couple tiki bars out in Cleveland, and it was awesome. It was a really good time. But yeah, Melissa was in and for any of the listeners who might know, Melissa's also in a film I made called Call Girl of Cthulhu. She's the call girl herself. So she was in like Malaysia and Vietnam and a couple different areas, just doing like backpacking with a friend of hers. And so I decided to go to Cleveland instead of going to other countries.
So I want to bounce it back over to Bacon real quick because it looks like there's a celebrity guest. His birthday's today, Mr. Mayor McCheese, right there.
Oh, that's Mayor McCheese?
This is Mrs. Mayor McCheese.
Oh. Oh, that's the first lady.
There she is. Yeah, she's the first lady of the house. She's 11 today. And she won't leave my side during this whole quarantine thing. She's loving it.
So how are things going over where you're at, Bacon, with the quarantine? Because obviously 91 Donkey Lane keeps on moving forward because, I mean, you and Nate are quarantined together regardless. But you also debuted your delightful quarantine talk show a couple weeks ago.
Oh, my God. I laughed until I peed a little bit. No lie.
We've literally, it's, you know how it is. We've just been sitting around a lot trying to come up with stuff. And we have so much material or ideas that we came up with. We watched The Lighthouse and we want to do Quarantine Tonight again, but all like Lighthouse style with like black and white and heavy dark lighting. But it's just the motivation is kind of not there because we're all just so kind of depressed from sitting in the house all day.
And The Lighthouse is kind of depressing.
Do not watch The Lighthouse now. It is not good to watch during quarantine, I don't think.
Spill your beans. I actually said that to myself and one of our dogs as I was planting the garden a couple weeks ago because I literally made a fucking mess.
See? No, it's just going to drive you into madness. I don't suggest watching that one.
You know what a really good double feature is, though? The Lighthouse and then Call Girl of Cthulhu, because they both have ladies with tentacles.
Oh.
Spoiler alert.
Is there a mermaid vagina in the other one?
There's definitely vagina. I don't know if it's mermaid.
I'm out. I only like the mermaid vagina. That mermaid vagina and in Lighthouse. Sorry, spoilers. There's a mermaid vagina.
I watched it and I don't remember literally seeing like, that's awful for me to.
Yeah,
I remember seeing the mermaid vagina. So is there an uncut version?
I remember I gasped in the theater.
Yeah. No, it's I don't know if I watched the uncut version, but there's 100%. You can't confuse it for anything else.
Well, I mean, I own it on Amazon, so I can go back and rewatch it. I don't want to, but I can.
Don't go searching for it. It's all you're going to be able to think about, and you're not going to be able to look at a normal one the same.
Dude, that's fine. I need some excitement in my life. Quarantine sucks.
Yeah. So we did that Quarantine Tonight thing. That was super fun. Just like an idea of like, hey, what happens if we made our own talk show? And then the first joke was literally like, what are we going to do? Just get mad at each other? And that's all we did. I cut my hand open, grabbing and fighting with the broken coffee mug. And I'm like, oh, this is great. We should definitely not do this ever again, especially during a pandemic. Like, imagine me going and it's like completely full and I'm like, and cut my hand doing a bit. It was really stupid.
You like promoted it for like 2 or 3 days, which I thought was the funniest thing. Because I'm like, oh my God, what's this going to be? Like, what's Bacon got up his sleeve? He's got some talk show. And you sit down, look at Nate, and just smack a coffee cup out of his hand and yell, what the fuck is wrong with you? And it just cuts to black. And I was like, he's a genius. Bacon's officially a comedic genius.
I mean, I remember when you were on our show, I knew that you were a
thank
comedic
you.
genius.
Aw, thanks, guys. This feels great. It feels great to get in front of people again because I feel like it. We haven't been able to. When you do the podcast, you don't get immediate feedback from other people. It's just you kind of sitting around laughing.
Oh, actually, Brian likes that better.
Yeah. Yeah, Brian?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this whole thing. If you notice by me,
Brian is literally like
10 minutes.
We were talking. I don't remember what we were. I think it was actually before or after we were recording a future episode because we've been like front loading things. And Brian's like, I'm really uncomfortable and not okay with what's going to happen on Tuesday. And Matt's like, but you have to do it anyway.
Yeah, so Matt's slowly becoming my mother, forcing us to go on trips and telling us they're going to be fun.
You told me before that I've been turning into Clark Griswold for like 10 years now.
What was it? We were talking. Was it Christmas? And I was like, "Is Matt the mandatory fun guy?" And Brian was like, "Matt's the mandatory fun guy."
Look, I like to have a good time. So Bacon, also your show, 91 Donkey Lane, also part of the Geekscape Network.
Yeah.
If someone's never listened to it, how can you catch them up to speed with all the things happening over at 91 Donkey Lane?
It's an improvised fantasy podcast where it's just me and my roommate, normal guys who live in a magical apartment, and it sucks. Everything goes wrong all the time, but we just kind of plow through it. Mayor McCheese is mayor of the apartment as of right now, but we're going to have an election special soon. So that's going to be, we have this one. So basically it's just kind of stuff that happens in the apartment. And, recently we've started noticing that my roommate's able to do some magical things. Like he tried to make a meatloaf. It turned into a meatloaf dog. Then it died because it's meatloaf and goes bad. So we had to bury it in the backyard. So we just found out in this recent episode that Nate actually has what's called the slip. Which is once in a generation, someone is born with these great powers. He's still not a full wizard because it's 26,000 steps, and he's currently on step 7.
Is he immortal or?
No, he's not immortal. It's not going to happen. Nate's too lazy. He's at step 7, which is literally he just laminated them, and step 7 is the hole punch, and he hasn't even gotten to that yet. Just his manual. It's not going to happen. So next week we have our landlord on. Finally, he's a Mothman, and he gets distracted by when we turn on the lights. And then after that, we're going to have the election special. So I have to make a bunch of. I promised to make a bunch of ads for Mayor McCheese.
Wait, so who's running against Mayor McCheese?
Opal, who is a small dog who doesn't even live in the apartment, who only visits every now and then, but it's Nate's dog. It's at his ex-wife's house, but he's trying to push for Opal. So Mayor's running against Opal. I don't know who's going to win because the only people who are allowed to vote are people who pay rent and are over the age of 18. So that's me and Nate.
You need to have a tiebreaker.
I don't know. He's been asking a lot of questions about it, so I know he's coming up with some way of cheating. I'm keeping an eye on him.
It might be that he's going to summon a third person. Do you think, what step is that?
Well, then they have to pay rent, and I might, as long as other people are paying rent, I might be fine with it.
Dude, Corona is going to be the best thing for your budget right now.
And Bacon, I'm just going to take the time to hold this up to the camera because if people don't really believe that he is campaigning, there is the picture of Mayor McCheese in his campaign box.
Is that where he shits?
This is, if you have a cat, you know that they really like boxes. And for some reason, she really likes this one that's too small. It's mayor for mayor. A star for each bedroom in the house. Mayor McCheese, it's in the name. He's a demo cat. And I can't get it. McCheese 2020 with Paw Prints. This is literally, if we could show you around the 91 Donkey Lane is filled with nonsense. There's not any girl who comes in here is immediately turned off. We have a murder wall up front, which is literally just the whole wall's covered in corkboard, and we just put random stuff up there, and we have string going, red yarn going from one to another. We're really hurting our chances.
Man, you guys had no chance even before the pandemic.
No.
All right, so back over to Chris for a little bit, because obviously the people who've seen WNUF love it, even though I stumble over those four letters so much every single time.
You got them right, though. A lot of times people just come up with alphabet soup.
So we do need to talk about like the marketing for that first movie. It was an 80s film, it's supposed to look like someone had taped a shitty Halloween special off of their TV in the 80s, commercials and all.
Yep.
And your way of originally advertising it was literally putting it on blank VHS tapes and leaving them at random conventions for people to find to make it the truest form of a found footage.
Yeah. So what we did initially was before we even sent it to distributors, we basically made like 50 copies or so. And I mean, Melissa and I were just starting to date then. We would drive around, we'd throw VHS tapes out the window, we'd leave them in the bathroom at conventions. I remember I left copies at Severed, the convention that's close to the Poconos, and then copies at I think one of the Monster Mania or horror.
I've heard
Monster Mania convention. But yeah, we just leave copies like randomly around. So yeah, and like literally leave them at thrift stores. Things like that. So
that's amazing.
See, stupid question for Chris. Was naming the psychic couple in WNUF the Burgers a joke since they were the Warners of Amityville and Conjuring, Supreme Court Justice Warren Burger, or am I thinking too hard?
Well, they're not based on the Warrens. That's insane. What I will say to you is I literally need to think back if I mentioned this in the commentary on the DVD, because you're the first person to ever to make that connection, and that is 100% right. And that blew my thank you for being a fucking political nerd, because that's
I was about to say that makes absolute sense because of listen back, anybody that's watching, listen back to our episode with Chris on the Werewolf of Washington back in I think that was that November of 2008?
Yeah, it was for election. It was during the election.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun. God.
That was fun. And he's like drinking red wine. So a quick question for you, Chris. So was WNUF after Call Girl? I thought it was before.
It was before, but here's the thing that's interesting. So we were fucking psychopaths. We made WNUF. We shot WNUF in October of 2012. And then we ended up, we were in pre-production already on Call Girl of Cthulhu, and we didn't shoot Call Girl of Cthulhu until April of 2013. So what ended up happening was I was editing WNUF while we were in pre-production on Call Girl, which I literally can't fathom having a life like that now that I'm a little older. Like I can't imagine making 2 feature films at once while having a full-time job and doing other shit, or like playing in bands and stuff. And because now it takes me fucking forever to finish a movie, period, now. But yeah, no, we were making both at the same time. But WNUF came first. Yeah.
Okay. That is just fucking wild to me.
It's insane, dude.
And tell us about your new band, the Beach.
Oh yeah.
Creeper is that what it's called?
Beach Creeper, yeah. So Beach Creeper is like a horror surf band. Melissa, the Call Girl of Cthulhu. I should probably still say that. My wife.
Yeah.
My wife.
My wife.
Much that way the rest of the time. Otherwise, I'm out.
Don't listen to him. Make it here for the duration.
If I tried to do that, it would just get so embarrassing so fast. Maybe I should try. So my wife, she's downstairs baking.
Is she making fucking macarons again?
She is.
Dude, tell her to go fuck herself because her macarons are perfect. She's like, oh, okay, so anybody that doesn't know, it doesn't follow Melissa on Instagram. She's like, oh, I was a little drunk and I made these fucking perfect macarons, which are, if you don't bake, the most difficult fucking cookie of all time.
Yeah, dude, I always joke with Melissa, I'm like, how the fuck did a perfectionist end up with me? But like no, so like what was I talking about before? The Beach Creeper, yeah. So Melissa sings, I play drums, my buddy Brian Goodman is on guitar, and my buddy Paul Pazorski is on bass. And basically it's a horror surf band, very much like sort of like surf punk more than like traditional surf because we're not that good of musicians. It's all the songs are about monsters and cryptids. So basically, like we have songs like about like Beast from Bray Road, about like Chessie, which is basically the Chesapeake Bay's version of the Loch Ness Monster. And we have 3 songs right now on Bandcamp, and I can like post the link at some point during the night. But it's we hopefully can record more, but the problem is we can't really practice until all this shit is over.
Just postal service that shit.
Yeah,
you know?
dude.
I have like 4 EPs that I'm working on right now because I have no chance of having a real band right now. So
I was gonna say I should send you drum tracks.
That would be, I mean,
that'd be
please,
fun.
you know, like fucking, I'll do it. You know, I got nothing but time, like, you know.
So
I'm not going back to work until September. I mean, like I'm working remotely, but I'm not going to even possibly in the office until September. So
did they actually tell you that? Like, did they actually
yesterday?
Say, like,
yeah, I got so my company is a subsidiary of a much larger company, and the CEO of that company told the CIO of that company, who is my boss's boss, if that makes sense, that we are not going to go back into the office until September at the earliest. And so I'm like, I'm in it for the long haul, and it's great because like I roll out of bed, get myself some like kombucha and sit down. I don't have to like take a shower. I take showers regularly. I'm just saying, like, I don't have to take a shower, get ready for work, commute for 40 minutes. You know, I mean,
guys, I swear I actually shower.
I didn't shave today, but you can't see compared to Matt's face up again. But again, like Brian doesn't ever shave. I can't tell if Bacon has.
I grew a mustache for most of this quarantine. I recently just shaved it off because it gets bristly and I look less and less like a 70s baseball player and more like a sex offender. So I got rid of it.
Chris, what I wanted to bounce back to you about for a split second was with this new movie, it's taking place now as a 90s, a film found in the 90s, not a film found in the 80s.
Yeah.
Do you have any ideas on how you want to try to promote that differently, or has like the vibe of WNUF kind of made it a lot harder to do that grassroots thing again? So
I think the conceit of the story is like, I don't think I'm going to fool anybody again.
Yeah.
However, what I do have is for all the GoFundMe, not all the GoFundMe, certain levels of the GoFundMe backing, I've got a special add-on that really is pretty. I don't want to tell you what it is because I feel like if I tell you now and then the movie comes out like a year later, it's going to sort of like blow the surprise of this. But I've been working on something, especially during quarantine, that a lot of the GoFundMe backers are going to get. That's fucking insanely cool. I'm glad I had this idea. And it's very in depth. It's very extensive. Because right now, obviously, like all we have is time, you know. So like, I finished all the commercials that I could finish, and I'm doing all the stuff for the movie that I can do right now. But I thought, like, well, fuck, I'll just use this extra time to do some things that are sort of more tchotchkes, so to speak, of what you'll get with your DVD or your VHS tape. So that's pretty rad. And then trying to think. Actually, one else thing that's been really cool during quarantine is we're actually rounding the bend. We're actually going to finish another movie that we had shot back in 2016 that was sort of in like editing hell because I wasn't editing the movie. A film called What Happens Next Will Scare You, which is like a clickbait horror satire. So that'll hopefully come out this October. Fingers crossed.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
Yeah. I was literally like before I hopped on the live stream, I was editing the trailer for it. So.
Oh yes.
Yeah, dude.
So Bacon, question for you, because you moved to Boston fairly recently. I remember visiting you last summer.
Yeah. Remember we can go outside? Yeah.
Yeah. And you had like just gotten pretty heavily involved in the Boston comedy scene, being a comic yourself originally in Chicago and all over the place. How has like this kind of affected that whole scene? Because, you know, you can't really go and do like your normal comedy exercises and improv exercises.
Yeah. Yesterday I jumped on. They had a live improv thing, and I only did that one because it was with my friend who moved to Ireland, and I hadn't seen her in forever. And I'm sure there's some good ones, but it's just such a hard thing to do, to improvise in different rooms with the lag, and it's kind of annoying. I also since moving from Chicago, I was specifically I'm just going to move to Boston, kind of learn the lay of the land, make friends before I, get back into acting here and get an agent here. And that's kind of stopped it. Just before the pandemic, I got brand new headshots to start to go do commercials and stuff. So I can't do any of that. And it's not going to help that I've been stuck sitting inside for so many days, and I'm just getting fatter and fatter, and it's going to be harder to fit me on screen because I'm already.
But you got those headshots early, so that's a plus, right?
Yes, but that's the problem, because they're going to look down at my headshot and they're going to look up at me, and I'm just going to be a rounded version of that.
Just say it's the MySpace angles, dude.
Yeah, it's the MySpace.
Old as time.
Yeah.
Oh, Tom.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, true, but still, could you be in a more dimly lit area of the house, Brian?
I'm trying not to be seen.
You're broadcasting from the basement you were afraid to sleep in.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. I was like, this dude couldn't sleep in my basement, but he can
So that story. Let's tell that story real quick. So was that the first time you met Brian, Scott?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. So we did a live stream from Scott's house.
That was 2018.
Yeah,
right?
it was a 12-hour. We were on Twitch, and it was movies playing, and we were commenting over the movies, and people just kept coming over, and we were grilling. It was a good pre-corona type hangout, honestly. But Brian had the trip from hell, and he can share that story in a second. But it got to midnight, and we're shutting down, and Scott's hey, I've got a bed downstairs.
No, this was 9:30. I think we had 2.5 movies left to go. Yeah. Because at midnight we were going to do Monster Squad, right?
No, we were.
Was it Freddy?
We were ending on Freddy. We were ending on Nightmare on Elm Street. So Brian's oh, where am I going to sleep? And Scott's oh, I've got a great bed down in the basement. Let me get it ready for you. And Scott goes downstairs, and Brian looks at me and goes, "Have you been down in the basement yet?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Is it scary?"
No, he goes, "How scary is the basement?"
Oh, how scary is the basement? I'm I don't know, at 3 or 4. And he goes, "I'm not going to sleep in the basement." so Scott, just show him where he slept.
right behind me.
And I slept like a baby.
Yeah, so he was out because he had an awful trip here because he couldn't his flights were all fucked.
Well, no, let him tell that
story.
But wait,
before you tell us that story, I gotta say the fact that Brian you're what, 6'2"?
5'10". I don't know. I guessed when I was 16, dude, and I've been writing it ever since. My mom stopped measuring me when I was 4.
You got a new mom. You're married, so just have her do it. Anyway, so Brian is legitimately taller than me, and he that is I'm terrible at reverse, but that is
3 feet in length, maybe
no more than 5 feet total. And so he was sardined in, out, because there's a door right there that you can't see, but it's a sliding door. It was open. We were literally on the other side of this wall, yelling and laughing. There were 8 people, and he's just
It was easy because I was already in the fetal position from thinking about the basement. So I fit right in there. But you guys can make fun of me all you want. The fact is I'm a survivalist. Okay.
No,
I look at danger at all. I am a survivalist. You should be dead. Okay. You're hey, this guy listened to my podcast once. I'm going to this town where I don't know anyone. Let's get coffee. And they're just let down that you're not a 13-year-old boy, so they let you live. You almost died at least 4 times.
So Brian,
listen to the next
happened.
couple. Yeah, he will. But just so everybody knows what to look forward to on the show, on our regular episodes, like the next month or so, Brian is only watching serial killer documentaries and talking about them. So he's just like, he's got serial killer on the brain more so than normal. Like, have you had a shower lately? Because I know that showers are very scary for you.
Well, the quarantine has been great. I've been showering more because Jade's always home. There's always someone there.
Sacrificial lamb. If she fucking dies, you'll hear her screams and you'll live. Okay.
Yeah, you went to college. You studied for tests. You know what I mean? I'm just preparing. I need to think like these people.
All right, so Brian, tell us the terrible attempt at flying. You had been on the podcast. You were the official co-host for all of 2-3 months at this point, and you made the journey. You were supposed to fly into the Akron airport, and then something happened.
Yeah, there was wow. So I should start off by saying, for anyone that doesn't know me, I am not a confrontational person, and I don't care who you are. I don't care how evil or mean you are. I need you to like me. So I went to the airport on time. And my first mistake was being a nice guy. I didn't want anything happening. So I don't check bags usually. I like to have them carry on. I jam everything in a small bag, carry on. It's always with me. So they were like, hey, can you do me a favor? You look pathetic. Would you be willing to check your bag? We'll check it for free. And I'm like, they're like, we have too many carry-ons. I said, okay, I'll check it. So then out of nowhere, they're like, haha, the flight's delayed 1 hour. And I had a layover in Detroit. So I was like, hey, I have a layover in Detroit. Is this going to be an issue? And they were like, yeah, it's going to be an issue because you're not going to make it to Akron because that flight's going to be gone. And we can put you in a hotel and we can get you on a plane at like 4:00 tomorrow. I was like, well, I have to do this live stream for a podcast. And they were like, of course you do. We knew that when you were coming up here. That's the only reason you'd be flying anywhere.
Did all the lights go off in the airport and a bunch of people ran over and they're like, oh my God, we got to get you back.
Yeah. Let's get him there. So I was like, well, can I rent a car? They're like, no. And I was like, well, can I get my money back? And they're like, well, if you get your money back, like you got to get the hell out of here. Or I said, can you compensate me? That's what I said. Is there any compensation, right? Like a Coke. I would have settled for a Coke on the plane.
No, some Coke.
yeah, or some, you know. And they were like, we can give you a full refund, but you can't get on the plane. I was like, well, I need to get on the plane. So they put me on the plane. I'm last to board. I get off and they were like, your bag is here. So you need to wait for your bag before you can get your rental car. It's going to take about 2-3 hours, but we'll get it to you. Now I'm in Detroit. It's like, what, a 6-hour drive to Akron? At that point, it's 10:30 at night. So I go to get the rental car because it was closing. I come back. I'm sitting for 3 hours. And they go, hey, good news. Your bag's in Akron. And I'm like, that is not good news.
Because I am not in Akron.
That is terrible news. And they're like, no, they're open 24/7. Just go, you know, and
get out of here.
Yes.
Leave us alone.
So yeah, I drove through Detroit, this scared white man that was already like so low on cash that all I could get was like a bright Prius looking thing. It's weird Prius looking thing.
Didn't we drive that around when we went to the Dahmer house?
We went to the Dahmer house in a Prius looking thing.
Prius looking? What's a Prius looking thing?
It's like
not quite a Prius.
Yeah. It's like a Prius, but cheaper. It's cheaper.
It's some Russian Prius.
Yeah. It's like a Prius, but we still hate the environment.
Okay.
It's a Prius for old people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was definitely an old people car, for sure.
Yeah, so then I got there and the airport wasn't open and I had to sleep in the car and it was cold. I slept in the car for like 4 hours till I could get my bags. And then I was like, I need to take a nap. And then I got there and Matt and Scott just had too high energy and we went to see Jeffrey Dahmer's house.
Whoa.
Didn't you fight with a little old lady? while you're trying to get your bag.
That was that. Oh man, I wish you didn't bring that up. I actually forgot that. This is going to sound made up like it was in a movie, but it wasn't. So finally, at this point, like I said, I'm non-confrontational, but I'm like, this has been ridiculous. So I finally go up after sleeping in my car for 3 hours. I was like, listen, this is what had happened. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. I've been waiting for my bag. I just want my bag. And she's like, I'm sorry. Let me go get that for you. And she walks out and she's got a leg brace and she's limping to the bag. And I'm like, you're the lady I yelled at. You're the lady I yelled at.
Oh my God.
I felt so terrible. I felt so terrible.
I don't know if anybody's been watching Chris's reaction, but they are so like,
you're going to make me
grandma.
Horror movie night.
You're like, bless your heart.
Horror movie night has the worst travel luck of any podcast. Because then Scott's flight got delayed to shit when we were trying to shoot the pilot, and he eventually just was like, I'm just driving.
I got my money back though. I drove the next morning, it was fine, and I stayed up for 20 hours. It was awesome.
That was a good time though. We had fun.
Yeah, we did have fun. That was a good time. And I was not wearing this shirt, but I almost wore my Dean and Win shirt. I couldn't find it, and I was crunched for time as I was getting ready for the live stream. But I wanted to mention our dude, Cody, did this shirt, The Witch, as you can see. Evil takes many horns. And then he also did Matt's shirt, the VHS stack shirt. Show it off, Matthew. What's on yours? You got Trick or Treat, Dawkins.
It's the all 80s rock playlist one.
Yeah, nice.
But he also did our Nick Cage shirt, which is
and
actually, hold on a second. I'll be right back. I'll go get it because it's right next to me.
Oh, look what you started, Scott.
Listen, I'm a complete whore when it comes to pimping our merch. So that's where we're at right now.
But you don't know the can that you just opened. He's also going to show his Godzilla drawing that he did in 7th grade.
Ooh.
That he got a C on.
Ooh, I want to see.
Yeah, I don't know where my copy of Spookies is. It's probably Tom said, doesn't Scott own a copy of the Spooky soundtrack on vinyl? I can go get it. Do we want to have like a little show and tell? I mean, I can do that. I am that guy. I will do that.
Well, I've been quarantined for 2 months, so the whole reason this is dim is because I've had to sell everything I own, so I don't have a good show and tell.
Kate says the Nick Cage is so good. Every time she wears it, someone comments on it.
Oh,
well,
nice.
Kate, I would love it if you. Yeah.
For some reason, no one can hear Matt, and I'm just getting a kick out of watching his lips move, wondering why no one's answering him.
We finally got what we wanted, Brian. We're in charge.
This is our show now. Hey, Matt, one more thing. Beat it. Hey, it's the Brian and Scott Show with Chris and Bacon.
But also for Kate, who said that the Nick Cage is so good. I don't know if you're in the Patreon. I don't think you are. But if anybody that wants to be part of the Patreon, the June Patreon pick, the winner right now is Nick Cage as Ghost Rider in Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance 2012, picked by moi. And if you want some Nick Cage in your life, that's about as bad as it gets. And you love us. And Brian, Matt, we can't. Matt, check your input or something.
If we're campaigning, I hit the.
There we go.
Now,
thank you.
If we're campaigning for that, I also picked the very underappreciated One Crazy Summer, which is the unofficial to Better Off Dead.
No one's gonna pick that shit. People are gonna pick Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance. We had to watch Spawn this month.
Yeah, who picked that?
Matt.
Oh God.
So we're about past. Well, yeah, we're well past. We're at the 40-minute mark. So let's talk about the topic that I threw to you guys to discuss. The topic of some of the best first appearances from horror, from any horror icon, essentially.
I actually wrote down my notes, unlike normal, but it's because I'm on Megan's computer right now. Matt. Well, here's Wizard Behind the Camera, or Wizard Behind the, what is it?
Curtain.
Thank you, Jesus. Wizard Behind the Curtain is that Matt writes all of his in fucking Chicken Scratch. I write mine in Trello and then read them as we're podcasting. And then fucking Brian doesn't take any at all. And then that's why every episode we're like, so Brian, what's your double feature? He's like, can you come back to me? Not like he hasn't been doing this for a year and knows that we do double features every single.
I'm a one and done kind of guy.
Yeah, he's not like Matt, who's like, people are over, let's keep them here. Brian's like, get the fuck out.
So I've been listening to the Gilmore Guys podcast a bunch, and they just mentioned on an episode that for every episode of Gilmore Guys, they watch that episode 2 to 3 times to make sure that they have like sufficient notes. And I just can't even imagine like some of the shit that we sit through. Like, no, thank you.
I could watch Dude Bro like 2 times to make sure I got everything, but this is the way it works for me. I'm actually going to do some more Wizard Behind the Curtain for end of 2020, probably more into 2021. I watched pieces of Contamination 1980 on Amazon today. It's about those like alien eggs that make people, like, if you get the goo on you, your fucking chest explodes. It's a trauma. It's bad. But I scrubbed my way through it, ignoring all the discussion points and just watching people's chests burst. And I was like, I could watch this. I could watch this, but I'm not like sitting down watching a movie and then being like, in 6 months I'm gonna rewatch this movie for the podcast. It's not worth it. I don't know who those guys do. They make money off of this? Because we don't make money off of what we do. So it might be the difference here of like.
Oh yeah, no, one of them became one of the writers of The Good Place because of the Gilmore Guys podcast. So I think they're doing all right.
Oh yeah, they're doing fine.
So the other one has a podcast called Good Christian Fun where they just review like VeggieTales episodes and like Supertone CDs.
Of course, Matt loves that because VeggieTales and Tooth and Nail.
So, well, I didn't write down anything. It's almost like we did a reverse, Scott. You hand wrote stuff, and I'm just going to wing it on the day. So what did you write down? We'll start with you.
Well, I have a lot because I thought we were going to spend an hour talking about this. So I was like, I got it. My Christopher Lloyd impression. But I'm going to start with kind of an obvious choice, Leatherface and TCM.
That's my big one.
What's the topic again? And I'm being serious.
We know you're being serious, dude.
Like iconic first appearances of a character in a horror franchise.
Leatherface
so like
is a good one.
Yeah, him just with the hammer and then the
it's when
metal
he
door
slams the door.
Yeah,
that's what I love.
So good. That is a good one. How about let's go to one of the guests, Chris Bacon. What do you guys got?
I totally forgot about this, so I'm thinking in real time.
All right, I got
Kevin
one.
Bacon, why don't you talk about the graboids?
Well, for me, when I took it as the first time I personally saw,
that's why I wrote down so much too.
Yeah.
That works too.
Go with that. Yeah.
So mine, it's you guys are hopefully know exactly what I'm talking about. I think it's in Nightmare on Elm Street 4. And it's when a guy is working out and his arms
it's a
rip.
woman.
It's a girl.
It's a woman.
Cockroach, and that's 5.
Yes, 5.
Right?
No, that's
there
4.
it is.
It's
That's
4.
4. I always get 4 and 5 mixed up, but that's the best Freddy kill, dude. You are absolutely right.
That was the very first Freddy kill I had ever seen. I don't know what year did that come out.
I think it's 87.
87. Yeah, 87.
Yeah.
87. So I am maybe 4 years old.
Oh, you saw when you're that young?
Well, I happened to walk by the living room and my parents were watching it on TV.
Oh, no.
And I walked by and I wasn't supposed to see this. And I remember seeing that scene and seeing Freddy. Then he crushes the thing.
The Roach Motel, yeah.
So whenever I see Freddy, I think about a person working out, them turning into a cockroach, and then being squished.
So I have
which
to
is
tell
like
you,
the weirdest one.
No,
So Bacon, that's the first time that I ever saw a Freddy kill as well.
Oh,
mine was a weirder circumstance. It was on MTV. They played that clip.
Yes, I saw that too, dude. And then I had to go to church.
Yeah, because they were. So here's the thing: MTV had just put out their first ever movie, Joe's Apartment.
Oh,
and And in order to promote it, they had the cockroaches watching famous cockroach scenes from movies. And one of those was that death scene from Nightmare on Elm Street 4.
MTV used to be so cool. That is the coolest thing. So, that is YouTube now, essentially.
I just watched an hour's worth of that Brave Wilderness Coyote, what's his name, getting fucking stung by ants and bees and shit. Like 2 days ago.
Oh, like the Wild Boys?
No.
Oh, yeah.
His name's Coyote Peterson, and he just like he makes money by going to crazy places and finding animals to sting the fuck out of him.
He does, yeah. He just copies Wild Boys, but he doesn't present it in such a dumb way. He's not like drunk and high. And
the best part about it is he doesn't swear. Like I stubbed my toe and I'm like motherfuck, but he's like getting stung by he gets bitten by a Gila monster. He's like, oh gosh.
And he's trying to explain it, and every time he's explaining it, it's the exact same explanation. It's like it really hurts. It's on fire.
I think I'm dying.
I think I'm dying right now. Now the venom's going through me. It's like
that same Joe's Apartment special is how I first knew of the movie The Applegates. If you've ever seen The Applegates,
dude, I've never seen that, but that's on my list.
By the way.
Yeah, The Applegates is great. It's not good, but it's great.
Wasn't that one of the ones that we were going to say we were going to pick for a Patreon episode, right?
I mean, we would do it as a normal episode, but
is it really horror enough to do?
I mean, it's from the writer and director of Heathers. It was his follow-up to Heathers, and it was this weird movie about these Amazon praying mantises that were human-sized, but they could wear human skin, and they're trying to blend in like a 1950s like. 2 kids, 1 car, like lifestyle, but the animal instinct keeps kicking in and they keep turning back into praying mantises and murdering people in the town and then having to cover their tracks. But it's also featuring Otho as a nosy neighbor.
This is the most HMN movie that we've never discussed. So, Matt, put it high on your list. Brian, actually, please. Put it high on your list. So Logan, yes, Applegates, we're going to do it. But also Logan was like, my girlfriend's kid is obsessed with that guy, Coyote Peterson, and she's 9 LOL. And I think that he's throwing shade at me. So, fuck you. Because I think
he's saying she's too young. I think he's saying
she's too young to be watching that shit.
Okay, well, Logan, explain yourself in the comments. So Chris, now that you know where we're kind of like the 2 prongs of this conversation, hook us up.
All right, so if I was going with my first time I saw an iconic movie monster, I would go with, there's 2 that come to mind. So when I was very, very young, I saw a promo for Night of the Demons on TV. And when I heard Angela's voice, like the real low, like, welcome to my party. Like, I remember being so fucking terrified. Like, that stuck with me for years. And then I think probably like a decade or give or take a couple years, saw the actual movie. Like, it was like still haunting me because it was burnt into my subconscious. Yeah. And I just remember the voice was more iconic for me than the visual. Mm-hmm. But the other first appearance of my first time I saw it was the Blob.
88?
No, the 50s, 58. So they would show that pretty regularly on either Cinemax or HBO when I was a kid. And there's that shot when the guy, the sort of like the homeless vagrant, is poking with a stick, and it's like the best reverse shot ever because I feel like they weren't that common. It goes on his hand. I remember like just being terrified by that, and just anytime I ever saw something sticky or gooey when I was a kid, I just imagined it reversing onto my arm. Those are the 2 from my personal time watching it. But if I was going to say first time an iconic movie monster or movie villain is in a scene, I would have to go with Freddy Krueger. Like, I think the fact that like we all look at Freddy Krueger now as like the cartoon sort of wisecracking Freddy Krueger, but the first time you see him in the original Nightmare on Elm Street, like, it's pretty amazing. And I love when a villain is so iconic you can tell who they are through silhouette, and that's Freddy Krueger.
Is that when he puts the arms out and they're massively long?
Yeah, it's like
That's my all-time favorite scene from a horror movie. Like,
oh, really?
Up.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, it's because it's actual nightmare logic, and that's what is so good about it. I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street is my all-time favorite horror movie, and that scene is my favorite scene. Was when he goes and he's like, scratching along the wall. But I mean, it's so good. I mean, and but also, so Tom said that Blob 88 might be the first horror movie he watched all the way through, and Blob 88 is on my list because of the what character is it? It's the guy that gets his on his arm. Is it the Vagrant, Matt? Matt knows.
Yeah, in that version,
And then like the girl goes into the room at the like county hospital or whatever, and her boyfriend's like covered and he's like, and that's
and it became the cover of the movie. Like that's like
I have that poster. It's
poster. When the cover of the movie is one of the goriest moments in it, just like splattered on the cover. Like this is what you're buying. How about you, Brian? Before I go,
well, before I go, there's something I'm really trying to get to the bottom of because I'm getting a lot of conflicting things. So the comment that Logan made, he said, no, I'm saying she watches horror movies with me, so she loves fucked up stuff. But Thomas is saying, he was talking shit. Scott, get him. And at this point, I don't know who's telling the truth. I don't know.
I'm going to go with Logan. Because
are you going to go with Logan? Okay.
But I love Tom, and Tom just loves to see me get riled up. So that's why he's saying these things.
And to further prolong, Katie says she remembers seeing Hannibal eating brain on a plane when I was too young, and I think it did some developmental damage. Let's talk about her comment, and this is not me prolonging because I don't have an answer.
Are we doing Fear Street pitch where you're just pitching the movie you picked that week?
I don't really have an answer. Mine's lame. I like shitty, not shitty, but I like cheesy 70s slashers. So like I remember the first time when I finally saw The Town That Dreaded Sundown, just the scene where he slams the trunk down and he's in front of the windshield. I was like,
I love that shot. I think that close, those eyes are so weirdly piercing and terrifying in that scene. So
I love Tom. Tom's like, just say Jaws.
I mean, that's kind of what I was about to say. As far as like iconic appearances, it's definitely the shark popping up on the in the first Jaws when he's throwing the chum in the water. But so two memories that I have was like when I was a kid, we had a TV room in the back, and
Brian,
yeah. And I loved Fraggle Rock. We had HBO, so I would watch Fraggle Rock.
Double brag.
Well, see, now you're changing the rules. If we're not doing horror, I'm going to say Mrs. Doubtfire when he puts his face in the pie and pops up from behind the refrigerator door.
No, so Fraggle Rock was on HBO, so I had HBO on a lot of the time. Like I would watch Fraggle Rock, and I would turn off the TV. And there was one time, like back in like the late 80s, early 90s, HBO didn't give a shit what came on after Fraggle Rock. It didn't give a shit about what time anything was on. So I forget what I may have been playing, like a video game or something, but I turned off the game and turned on the TV. And at that very moment, I saw Herbert West talking to a decapitated head sitting on a plate on his desk while the body was choking him from behind, and like literally ran out of the room screaming at the top of my lungs. So like that's one of those things where I didn't watch Reanimator for like 10, probably 15 years after that, because I was just like, oh no, man, that's too fucking scary. And then it was like, it's like a comedy. It's a splatter comedy, but like that one moment scarred me. And I think similarly, same channel, same issue, was like turning on the TV and seeing the little clown from Killer Clowns punch a guy's head into a trash can.
Oh, Killer Clowns. Fantastic film.
So good.
One of the best films we've never talked about on the show.
Well, don't worry. It's on my short list, anybody watching. So I wanted to kind of build off of Mayor McCheese.
Mayor McCheese really wants to get in on this. So.
Put the mic down right by her and just kind of.
I don't know if you could.
Yeah, I hear it.
Hear it a little bit.
Oh, Chris is losing his fucking shit.
Well, I feel like I need to do this. Hold on.
It's your cat.
Oh, classic
Oh.
Zubin. Oh, look at that beautiful calico. Is that a calico or is that a ragdoll? What is that?
I have no clue what kind of cat she is. She's just
Oh.
cute.
And funny because 6 months ago, Chris was not a cat person.
Oh my God, no! That's a good girl. This is Madame Leota.
Oh.
She's cute.
Oh,
Okay,
that's adorable.
next episode, we're bringing all the dogs in.
Oh, yeah.
I think I
It's gonna be
need to-
dogs only.
Animals
Oh,
are
I need to
awesome.
brighten up my screen then.
To stick on this topic of being scarred.
Lower it.
Oh, what's that say?
Oh, it's a drawing of a cat.
The topic of being scarred. Another one that I remember watching when I was little, only because I'm pretty sure it came. I don't know if it came out after Jurassic Park or if it was just kind of bumped up. Maybe it was probably made before and then probably put into the movie stores.
Video stores?
Video stores. I don't even remember what anything is anymore. And I remember asking for it. My parents got it for me. It's the movie Carnosaur.
Oh, Matt's fave.
Right?
Matt, did you pick Carnosaur? Or Carnosaur 2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got the first DVD box sets I ever bought when I finally was like, you know what, I'm buying DVDs. I bought the Creature from the Black Lagoon collection and the Carnosaur trilogy.
Oh my God. So you tell me if this, in my memory, I've only seen Carnosaur one time. And I'm pretty sure the ending is a guy driving a forklift into the T-Rex.
That's
and
two,
that's
right?
what kills him?
That's part two.
Yeah, we did an episode on that.
Maybe I've only seen part two.
Because part two not only jumped on the we're ripping off Jurassic Park train, but it does jump onto the also let's just do aliens train.
Yeah.
Although no wait, I think Carnosaur 1 also has a forklift versus dinosaur battle. That was a very popular weapon against the Carnosaurs. We've never done Carnosaur 1, so I think we need to pick it and have bacon on.
No,
but we'll have bacon on so we can confirm or deny.
That's the only thing that I would accept because we are currently in July right now, and I know we're doing all the way until listeners submitted month in September, and Matt has picked killer animal movies for 3 months. Like he's such a fuck for pick. I mean, like I can fuck with one or two, but every third week, Matt being like, "Hey guys, we're gonna watch Alligator. Hey guys, we're gonna watch Piranha. Hey guys, we're gonna watch this. Like, we're gonna watch Eaten Alive." I mean, yes, I pick Eaten Alive, thank goodness. But like, it just keeps happening.
So,
and you've probably already watched all the good ones, like Benji. Where's Benji?
So
no,
Chris,
I meant Cujo, but Benji. Yeah,
we don't watch good movies on this podcast.
Chris, maybe you can confirm. Chris, were you a Carnosaur man?
Carnosaur man.
So I actually didn't watch that until maybe 6 months ago or so.
Okay,
but I've not.
I was gonna say, correct me if I'm wrong. In the first Carnosaur movie, isn't like part of the plot line that they're trying to get like a women's fertility drug, but it's making them pregnant with dinosaurs?
God, I just remember there being lots of chicken subplots. That's the thing I remember. Yeah,
and there's a chicken cam. I remember chicken cam. Like you get the eye of the chicken. Like this whole movie is just a downgrade of everything. In Alien, you get you usually get like the killer's perspective. Also in Alien, they have the mech suit, but they don't even have a mech suit. They just have the lowest level of office work stuff, which is a forklift. And you have chicken.
Tom is saying the Carnosaur has the dinosaur pregnancy subplot, so we got that.
There you go.
It's a fucking layup for us. Woo!
That's a good double feature: Carnosaur, and then the movie Junior.
Out of context comments.
Yeah.
Movie. So I want to go and say that before I even actually saw Hellraiser, I saw Pinhead for the first time as a child, and I was horrified because I knew nothing about him except for the fact that he was pale as shit, had like piercings and all over his nipples and chest and stuff, and pins in his head, and I was like, what does he do? But I seeing it as a actual teenager, I was like, yeah, that's a fucking great a surprise, because you think of this movie as mostly just going to be kind of like drama, horror, slasher kind of stuff, and then you get the supernatural, and it really
with all that stuff. Did they ever just try to use a giant magnet to stop him?
They should. Hey, who would win in a fight, Magneto or Pinhead?
Magneto.
Yeah.
No. But Pinhead likes pain, so if you pull out the all the stuff, would it give him more power? But here's another one: who would win in a fight, D. Snyder in Strangeland or Pinhead?
But here's the thing: do you know that for a fact, Scott? Pinhead could just be goth. It's just a shtick. I love pain, blah blah. And then you take away
I went to high school with a kid like Pinhead.
You probably also went to high school with a guy like D. Snyder in Strangeland.
Yeah.
And I'm mentioning that a lot. Hint.
I regret nothing.
So, Brian, I feel like you and I have the same first time knowing what the hell Pinhead was from our Uncle Craig's basement, and is like dope ass.
Did he have a sweet mustache?
But I was confused because I saw Puppet Master before Hellraiser, and I was like, "That's not Pinhead. Pinhead's a boy."
Yeah, he had like these like, what were they, like a foot tall, maybe 2 foot, like statues of all of the Cenobites in all their like glory, like gory glory. So it was like them like ripping open their chests, and just had them in a display case. He had a display case of Star Wars toys, like the original. He had all 150 of the original Star Wars toys in the boxes.
So is he living large now that he sold those to some losers in 2010?
He was living large then.
Yeah, eBay happened, and we haven't seen him since.
Yeah, you guys check out these figurines I just bought.
It's my dad had an alien toy that I opened to play with, and he made me cry with how disappointed I was and how much money it was worth. And then I Googled it like 3 years ago. It's worth like $30 in the case right now.
Yeah. Well,
he just wanted an excuse to make you cry. He's trying to toughen you up. I've heard the stories about your dad.
Yeah, well, no, that was his thing. He was like, here's a great thing. Here's the way I'll bond with my 8-year-old is I'll give him a toy and teach him about saving it for when it's worth money. And it's like,
I mean, that the one wrestling toy that he has actually is worth like $300-$400 now, which is
what wrestling toy?
If you look at everyone's screen, you see it worked on someone clearly.
He has a still in the box Hasbro 1-2-3 Kid, which is like
1-2-3 Kid. Yes.
Which apparently is like the rarest of that run of toys because it was the last. It's always whatever the last toy was made in that run because they made the least amount of them. So like he found one and he's like it still has like the label on it. Like he bought it for like 50 cents. And you go on eBay and search, and it's like $250 now. But we didn't store.
Nobody's banned that in the fucking pandemic.
I don't know. I do really love 1-2-3 Kid.
I mean,
you have a job right now?
Yeah, I still have a job.
Oh, okay then. My blessings.
I mean, Bacon. I'm not sure if you can see it because it's kind of tiny, but I got Money Incorporated behind me, just watching over my shoulder. Erwin R. Shyster and the $1 Million Man watching my back.
Hey, this is horror movie night, not wrestling incel movie night.
Well, the only things I own is the ones that Nate, my roommate, has purchased me because he thought it was funny. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 8 11 dolls. From Stranger Things.
Are they all the same, or are there?
They're all different. One's a Hot Topic exclusive. He just thought it would be funny.
Traveler? Is that part of his wizard powers?
Probably. I mean, well, his thing is he thought it'd be funny if a grown man owned a bunch of 11 things, because it's kind of like, hey, why are you really into this prepubescent child?
Well,
I'll grab one of them.
You know what? Anybody that asks you that, you can just say, why are all those dudes in Hollywood that are dating her into a prepubescent child?
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah. Read up on it. It's fucked up.
I don't know if I can.
I don't trust Drake. That's all I'm saying. Drake's always tweeting advice to her, and I'm like, Drake.
He's one of them. But there are older men too. What's her real name? Millie Bobby Brown. Yeah, I'm gonna drag that lady right now. She has too many older men friends, and I don't know what their plans are, but it's not cool, man. And also Tom says CD Cenobite. Just so you know, Tom, CD Cenobite is the best part of the Hellraiser franchise. So I don't even know why you're asking this question. You've heard the live episode about Hellraiser 3.
It looks
see here.
awful just seeing you try to carry all of those.
Well, this is only half of them. This is 11 hospital gown. That's going to be great to own. It's 11 in a hospital gown. So that's fucking.
Are they
fantastic.
all Funkos?
Yep. 11.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense now.
Yeah, they're all 11. This is the Hot Topic exclusive. It's just 11 in a jacket. So that's worthless. Let's see here.
Take them out and play with them then.
We have. Well, then see now there's evidence of me playing with these. So we have.
Dude, they're within grabbing range. I don't know what else you have to prove.
She just has a bloody nose and is elevated. They're these ideas. 11 in a burger t-shirt.
So,
Worthless.
how much are Funkos? Just like when you buy them fresh?
If they were $1, he wasted too much money.
No, like, does anybody? Matt collects Funkos. You know, Matt's a.
I actually don't. The only Funkos I have are what other people have bought me.
Look, if you own Funkos, that's totally fine.
You may have to open them, Bacon, because apparently there's 3 dolls. Oh, there's dolls in the heads of a Funko Pops.
What?
What does that even mean? Like Barbie?
There's just more dolls. They're like those little little fat people that you open, and there's a Russian person.
Dolls.
Oh, yeah. You went with the Russian. I was like Mighty Max.
Well, you don't take off Mighty Max's head. That's just a little. That's just the boys' Polly Pockets, so we didn't get beat up in elementary school.
So rip that head off, dude. Let's see what happens.
I think Katie's setting you up.
Okay, well, I broke the other thing first. The thing about Funko Pops is the head is the strongest part.
Dude, we found your new workout routine.
I've just been laying in bed getting fatter, so I don't have any.
Someone cut it open.
I'd have to go get a razor blade or something.
Someone screenshot this. It's amazing.
Oh, great. I've been set up.
Oh my god, my stomach.
And now and you know what? Now I'm playing with the fucking doll.
Oh man, Kate, I don't know who you are, but you just made this so magical, bro.
Damn it, Kate, who does all the logos for my podcast.
Oh, that Kate. She does logos for all of your podcasts except for the one that needs a new logo for the podcast. So.
I love our VHS.
I mean, I like it too, but it's made by a fucking child, me. So Kate says, I think you need a box cutter. Kate, we're not going to make this a snuff film, okay?
So I will give a quick shout out to my friend Lauren. I'm not sure if she's still watching, but she did send me this picture today.
Oh, nice.
And she said, I've been using this as a bookmark for weeks and just realized it was a ghost with a heart on.
You know, actually, I feel like I can throw in the town now, guys. I fooled someone into using something that had an erection on it. Like, that's the ultimate. You know, like someone didn't realize that ghost had a boner.
I had to try to explain it to children at Comic-Con when we had it on display. I was like, he's just waving at you.
This is why I don't go to fucking Comic-Con.
All right. There's nothing inside.
You got juked, dude.
Man, you made me ruin my one of... oh, no. What am I going to do? I only have 8 other backups.
Hold on. What is it? Hold it up again.
Sure. Let's see. Oh, God.
What's in it?
Nothing is in it. I'm going to keep holding this.
You can hear the sound of typing.
No, I don't like the typing sounds. I don't like how long this is taking. I am really just... Oh, wow.
Oh, my
And then also, remember how I was talking about how I cut my hand doing a bit before? And now I'm literally... I am an moron.
Is that a butter knife?
No, you can't see because that's stupid. Oh, it's on this side. It's flippity flipped. It's a normal steak knife. I'll just put this back
I
in the
guess
drawer.
it's now a child's steak knife.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, God. Well,
All right,
that was an exciting first episode, I think, of the horror movie live stream. So thank you so much, Chris. Thank you so much, Bacon, for joining. So Chris, we'll do one at a time real quick. Chris, where can people go to check out all the stuff that you're up to and the new sequel coming for WNUF?
Probably the best bet would be like, I guess instagram.com/chris.lamartina, or just friend me on Facebook. But if we don't have any mutual friends, just send me a message so I know that you're not just some rando. That's cool too. Just send me a message saying that you heard this.
I'm very lonely.
And then, I mean, I barely use Twitter, but you can follow me on Twitter. But Instagram and Facebook are probably the best avenues.
All right, and Bacon, when you're not murdering pop vinyl figures, where can people check out the stuff that you're doing with 91 Donkey Lane?
Well, I'm gonna definitely put a photo of this up on our Instagram. You can find 91. Look, I'm having a sticker. Kind of desaturated in the light here, but you can find 91 Donkey Lane anywhere you hear podcasts. Just look up 91 Donkey Lane, or you can go to our website, 91donkeylane.com. Instagram, just look up 91 Donkey Lane. We got a lot of like show notes. I do a cover art. I just draw something silly for every episode. We have campaign photos for mayor, running for mayor, and Opal running for mayor. And you can just look up Robert Bacon.
Hey, Bacon, do you have I'm sorry, look at the scroll.
Right.
So Bacon.
That's great. I hope that doesn't go to my father, also Robert Bacon.
I do want to give a shout out because I actually didn't know that Bacon was as talented of an artist as he actually is until like a couple weeks ago, because he mentioned that he draws. And he's looking at me like he thinks this is a bit. I actually really do think that these drawings are great. I do want to share my favorite one though, of the squawking seagull drawing, which I fucking love. I love this little guy.
Well, I could show you actually next week's episodes.
Oh,
I just finished that with our landlord who's coming, who's a Mothman. So I drew. Let's see if I could make this full screen. There we go. Mothman.
I love it.
That's awesome. He's got little nickel arms. So he gets distracted by the light getting turned out, so we did that.
I love it.
So just look up 91 Donkey Lane on Instagram. I try to do little videos on there too.
So Bacon, do you have a YouTube too? Because I remember after you watch Cats.
Yeah.
Was the hack? Is that your personal Instagram or YouTube?
Yeah, if you just look up Robert Bacon on YouTube, there's the first guy that shows up is an African American man, and so that's not me, and I'm the next one. So it's pretty easy to find me.
Yeah, check out his Cats video, which is a amazing breakdown of the movie Cats.
Thank you.
Which is one of the weirdest things I've ever watched in a theater. So that was
amazing. I love it. I love that movie so much.
It's once the cockroach children come into play is like all bets are off.
For me, it was the slave mice, but yeah, the child slave mice.
So also, obviously, you can check out hmnpodcast.com for all of our everything. These will continue to be up on Facebook and YouTube for all eternity. Brian, you recorded this though, right? You captured the audio?
Yeah, this thing did.
Okay, cool. So what I think we're going to do is for the actual main feed, Brian's going to send me the audio from all these, and I'll just do like a super cut of just some of the highlights from each month's like 4 or 5 episodes of live streaming. So obviously subscribe to us on all of the different podcasting apps and check out all the crazy shit that we have. For those of you who tuned in and listen, we'll give you a sneak peek that Thursday's episode is about Piranha 2: The Spawning.
Oh, that's okay. I thought we were a week ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, featuring flying piranhas and directed by James Cameron.
The best flying fish movie of all time.
So So stay tuned for that. And thank you, everybody, for checking this out. And we'll be back 8 o'clock Eastern Standard next week with the Jersey Ghouls.
Thanks, guys.